Hola, gente linda. Hello, beautiful people. Hola is hello in Spanish, and gente linda means beautiful people. In Spanish, I am Nelly Z. My goal for my YouTube channel is to study the topics for the licensed clinical social worker exam together and share this material with someone who may need it. First, I would like to share a quote to continue to be inspired and motivated to carry on with this journey. Curious about this quote, I also found other quotes and an exciting article about the law of attraction. Here is the link to of this article if you want to read it. It was really interesting to read about the law of attraction. I suggest that you read it, and you will find another quotes that they are very inspiring. We starting we started studying this classical conditioning theory, and this is my second video reviewing this theory. Here are the link of the article that we have been reviewed. I will post the link of this video of this article under the video for your review at your convenience. Finally, thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. If you would like to receive a notification when I upload a video, please subscribe and don't forget to like this video so we can all maximize the gift of the technology of this time. I also get motivated and inspired to get with this crazy idea of studying together for the LCSW exam. Adios, mi gente linda, and many blessings. And here is the quote. What you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create. The Buddha. I found this quote in the link that I'm gonna share with you. Again, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create. So, what you think you become. Why and how is it? What you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create. I feel a winner. So we are going to win and pass the exam, the LCSW exam. For sure. We're gonna track that. That's all. And here is the article that we have been reading. We stop in addiction, just before before addiction. Okay, addiction. Cure reactivity. Cure reactivity is the theory that people associate situation. Example, meeting with friends, places. Example, pop, with the rewarding effects of nicotine. And these cues can trigger a feeling of craving. These factors become smoking-related cues. Prolonged use of nicotine creates an association between these factors and smoking based on classical conditioning. Nicotine is the unconditioned stimulus, UCS, and the pleasure caused by the sudden increase in dopamine levels is the unconditioned response, UCR. Following this increase, the brain tries to lower the dopamine back to a normal level. Okay? The stimuli that have become associated with nicotine were neutral stimuli, NS, before learning took place, but they become conditioning stimulus, CS. With repeated pairing, they can produce conditioned response, CR. However, if the brain has not received nicotine, the level of dopamine drop, and the individual experience withdrawal symptoms. Therefore, is more likely to feel the need to smoke in the presence of cues to have become associated with the use of nicotine. Interesting. Classroom learning. The implications of classical conditioning in the classroom are less important than those of operant conditioning. But there is still a need for teachers to try to make sure the students associate positive emotional experiences with learning. If a student associates negative emotional experience with the school, then this can be obviously have bad results, such as creating school phobia. For example, if a student is bullying at school, they may learn to associate the school with fear. It could also explain why some students show particular dislike of certain subjects that continue throughout their academic career. This could happen if a student is humiliated or punished in class by a teacher. Wow, I like this theory because it really teaches, you know, people how things are like a cause and effect, almost like that. So I'm really interested in this theory. Principle of classical conditioning. Neutral stimulus. In classical conditioning, a neutral stimulus, NS, is a stimulus that initially does not evoke a response until it's paired with the unconditioned stimulus. For example, in Pavlov's experiment, the bell was the neutral stimulus and only produced a response when paired with food. Unconditioned stimulus. In a classical conditioning, the unconditioned stimulus is a feature of the environment that causes a natural and automatic response without prior condition. In Pavlov's study, the unconditioned stimulus was food. Unconditional response. In classical conditioning, an unconditional response is an innate response that occurs automatically when the unconditional stimulus is present. Pavlov showed the existence of a conditional response by presenting a dog with a bowl of food and measuring his salivary secretions. Conditioning stimulus. In classical conditioning, the conditioned stimulus, CS, is a substitute stimulus that triggers the same response in an organism as an unconditional stimulus. For example, Pavlov's dog learned to salivate on the sound of a bell. Simply put, a conditioned stimulus makes an organism react to something because it's associated with something else. Conditioned response. In classical conditioning, the conditioned response, CR, is the learned response to the previous neutral stimulus. And even Pavlov experiments in classical conditioning, the dog salivation was the conditioned response to the sound of bell. Acquisition. The process of pairing a neutral stimulus with unconditional stimulus to produce a conditioned response. In the initial learning period, acquisition describes where an organism learns to connect a neutral stimulus and an unconditional and conditioned stimulus. Extinction. In psychology, extinction refers to the gradual weakening of conditioned response by breaking the association between the condition and unconditioned stimulus. The weakening of conditioning response occurs when the conditioned stimulus is repeatedly present without the conditioned stimulus. For example, when the bell repeatedly rang and no food was present, Pablo dog gradually stopped salivating at the sound of the bell. Spontaneous recovery. Spontaneous recovery is a phenomenon of Pavlovian conditioning that refers to the return of conditioned response in a weaker form after a period of time following extinction. It's the reappearance of an extinguished conditioned response after a rest period when the conditioned stimulus is presented alone. For example, when Palliot waited a few days after extinguished the conditioned response, then rang the bell once more, the dog salivated again. Generalization. In psychology, generalization is the tendency to respond in the same way to a stimulus similar but not identical to the original condition. For example, if Pablo experiment, if a dog is conditioned to salivate towards the sound of bell, it may later salivate to a higher pitched bell. Discrimination. In classical conditioning, discrimination is a process through which individuals learn to differentiate among similar stimuli, respond appropriately to each one. For example, eventually, Pavlov's dogs learn the difference between the sound of the two bells and no longer salivates and the sound of the non-food bell. Higher order conditioning. Higher order conditioning is when conditioned stimulus is paired with a neutral stimulus to create a second conditioned stimulus. For example, a bell CS1 is paired with food UCS, so the bell elicits salivation CR. Then a light NS is paired with the bell. Eventually, the light alone will elicit salivation, even without the presence of food. This demonstrates higher order condition, where conditioning stimulus bell serves as an unconditional stimulus to condition a new stimulus light. Critical evaluation. Strengths. Practical applications. The principles of classical conditioning have been widely effectively applied in fields like behavioral therapy, education, and advertising. Therapy like desensitization use classical conditioning to help eliminate phobias and anxiety. The behaviorist approach has been used in treatment of phobia and systematic desensitization. The individual with phobia is taught relaxation techniques and then makes a hierarchy of fear, from the last frightening to the most frightening feature of the phobia object. He then is presented with the stimulus in that order, learns to associate classical conditioning. The stimuli with relaxation response. This is counter conditioning. Explaining involuntary behavior. Classical condition helps explain some reflexive or involuntary behavior like phobias, emotional reaction, and physiological response. The model shows how this can be acquired through experience. The process of classical condition can probably account for aspects of certain other mental disorders. For example, in post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, sufferers tend to show classical condition response to stimuli present at the time of the traumatizing event, Charning 93. However, since not everyone exposed to traumatic event develop PTSD, other factors may involve, such as individual difference in people's appraisal of event, as a stressor and the recovery environment, such as family and support group. Supported by substantial experiment evidence, there is a wealth of experimental support for basic phenomena like acquisition, extinction, generalization, and discrimination. Pablo's original experiment on dogs and subsequent studies have demonstrated classical conditions in animal and human. There have been many laboratory demonstrations on human participants acquiring behavior through classical conditions. It's relatively easy to classical condition and extinguish conditioned responses, such as the eye blind galvanic responses. A strain of classical condition theory is that it is scientific. This is because it's based on empirical evidence carried out by controlled experiments. For example, Pablo in 1902 showed how classical conditions could be used to make a dog salivate to the sound of bell. Okay, so we're gonna stop here. And the supporters of reductionist approach say that it's a scientific breaking complicated behavior down into small parts means that they can be scientifically tested. However, some would argue that the reductionist view lacks validity. That's why reductionism is useful and it can lead to incomplete explanation. We're gonna stop in weaknesses, and we'll pick up the other video from there. And after that, probably depending how long reading that, we'll probably create other video. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But it gets long. Okay, my friends. Okay, mis amigos y amigas. Adios. Have a great day. Many blessings. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Adios.